police terror and the theater of the law. The Jairaj Manik's case shows that without proper rule of law, citizens are condemned to live in local tyrannies. And when it comes to the murder of Jairaj and Banix at the hands of the local police in Satankulam, Tamil Nadu, has provoked national outrage. The bare bones of the incident are widely known. A small shopkeeper is picked up for a trivial offense, taken to the police station. His son too is detained. Both are mercilessly thrashed. The hospital to which they are taken admits that they have blood clots all over their body but gives false certificate of fitness. The magistrate remands them to judicial custody without examining their abused bodies, merely waiving consent from far away. Within a couple of days, the two succumb to their grievous injuries. And when it comes to the state and the law, what does this reveal about the nature of our state and the link between law and violence? The modern state emerged by gathering power dispersed among rivalrous local strongmen and depositing it in a single set of interrelated institutions, now endowed with a monopoly of force and violence. These institutions were meant to function independently of the ruler. They do not belong to him or not part of his personal estate. Instead, they work for the entire public. The Jairaj Manik's case makes us doubt if such a modern impersonal state exists in India. It shows first that our political institutions, including the judicial machinery, are far from independent of the will of the rulers. Rather, they work of their personal command. Second, local policemen think of themselves as sovereign in their own little territory. Executors of law, they invent on the go. At the very least, they believe that they partake in sovereign powers protected by lawmakers sitting higher up. Indian society continues to consist of rival power groups, each with a private police force at their mercy, causing local populations to behave according to rules crafted at will. It is as if the entire country is splintered into little fiefdoms, each believing to have a monopoly of violence. Third, police brutality is a routine, banal feature of everyday life of the poor. The wanton actions of the police are woven into the fabric of daily social interactions. The police uniform plays a symbolic role, expressing that anyone who dons it has power, prestige, and backing of the entire official apparatus. The social superiority sanction extra legal behavior that often has the stamp of rampaging criminality. After all, nothing done by the Satankulam police was by the rule book. Everything from the first to the last violent movement was extra legal, far from safeguarding the legal from the illegal. The police embraced criminality. Jairaj and Banix appear to be living not in a post independent constitutional state but under a local police state wrought in the colonial or pre colonial era. So, the next point is law as performance. A society is meant to be governed by the rule of law implemented by a state above it, impartially arbitrating social disputes. In reality, it is an arena where everyone fights with all their might over material resources, power, status, ideas, and crucially, the control of the legal machinery. To get the law on your side brings enormous advantage. For once under control, it functions at your pleasure, largely to benefit you. But since democracy requires that the law work for everyone, a performance must be staged to sustain this myth, a make believe world created for ordinary people that all is well. The performance of law courts is like theatre or a film that seduces spectators into a reality of its own making. On most occasions, the law courts are seen to be doing something when in fact they get nothing legally substantive done. They operate but do not really function. This discourse of the rule of law too is often a handy rhetorical ploy. The action of remanding Jairaj and Banik to judicial custody exemplified an infirm, callous judicial system designed to keep up the facade of the rule of law. The magistrate, the magistrate did not even care to properly perform the law. It is of course true that some committed police officers, such as the woman head constable Revti, work overtime to maintain the integrity of the force. And whenever people begin to seriously doubt its efficacy, it is thanks to them that the law is temporarily allowed to work as it should, impartially for everyone. The last, this happens only until its image a credible agency is restored. After that, it is once again business as usual. The proper functioning of the legal system then is the exception, the absence of rule of law, and the lawlessness of local powers